Welcome into another episode of 360 Sports here in the Willard Media Center. I'm your host, Justina Ricchini, here with Bella, Grace, and Fernando. We're talking all things sports today. We got baseball, we got college football, we got NFL, and we'll sprinkle in some hockey and some different other surprise sports in there. But there's a ton of sports to go over. Everything's in the swing of things. And baseball is one of the sports that just ended. So we're going to go here and talk about the honors, the Gold Glove Awards that were just announced. I think it was, 2 weeks ago at this point, the Gold Glove Awards were announced. There was a lot of snubs, but there are a lot of, same picks from years past. So also Silver Slugger. So what are your guys' thoughts on the selections?
I honestly was pretty satisfied overall. I feel like the picks were chosen right. There's really nothing to just, no one was really snubbed, in my opinion. We'll get to that. But everyone on the list played so well. I know some athletes were not in the playoffs, but they still played well. It was pretty obvious. We got Aaron Judge, Soto, Bobby, Jose, Santander, Altuve, Vladdy, Ohtani, Mookie, Marte, Machado, Bryce, Lindor. The list goes on. Those are all the players that made their mark when it came to this season. And everyone had great batting averages, RBIs. Let's get to the snubbing. Like I said, I don't think anyone was snubbed, but I think Luis Arias was of the Padres was probably snubbed the most, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
He reached 200 hits for the second straight season, batted over 300 for the fifth time in 6 years, and struck out less than any other player in the league. He also earned his third consecutive All-Star selection and secured his third straight batting title. And he also won 141 consecutive plate appearances without striking out, which was the longest streak in 20 years and the second longest in franchise history, behind Tony Gwynn, who won 170 in the appearances since 1995. Mookie obviously robbed him, but I love Mookie. I grew up with Mookie, so I think I'm pretty biased. But when it comes to professionalism, Luis Arias is probably snubbed.
Yeah, Arias was definitely snubbed completely. I mean, I get it. Voter fatigue happens with this sort of stuff, but at the same time, when you bet over 320 for 3 straight years on 3 different teams, and like you mentioned, the strikeout percentage and the strikeout streak, that's something that if you don't win Silver Slugger every year, it's like a snub, because he should be hitting 320 every year. That's voter fatigue. That happens all the time. It kind of makes sense they gave it to Mookie Betts just because of the World Series, I guess. So
he's a great player.
I don't know, Fernando, what are your thoughts?
I think everyone who got awards deserved them, to be honest with you. One thing that caught my eye was I saw that 2 Rockies players won 2.
Yeah, Brenton Doyle and
won Golden Gloves. Last time I recall, aren't they irrelevant?
They're irrelevant, but I think the main thing about them was they were good fielding this year. I think that was their big thing. They can't hit. They weren't hitting well this year. Well, their fielding must have been. I don't know. I didn't watch a lot of Rockies games, so you can't
that's impressive to see. That's pretty shocking to find out when I first saw. And I'll say this about pitchers: how did Zach Wheeler not win over Chris Sale in this scenario? Chris Sale was he didn't come up clutch at the end of the season. I understand he's played really well at the beginning, but then Zach Wheeler just was consistent. But Chris Sale was just good in the first half, and then the second half he just fell off. And then I saw Seth Lugo won. Are we forgetting Tarek Skubal's name?
Yeah.
For God's sakes. He was the best player on the Detroit Tigers, and how the heck is he not winning this award? I have questions about how it comes to awards with pitchers, but overall, I think everyone deserved it at the end.
Yeah, I don't know. When it comes down to that, how do you determine Gold Glove for pitchers? You know what I mean? Obviously the Cy Young's going to scoop all, but I don't know how you determine Gold Glove with pitchers. Maybe that's something that doesn't really.
Or do you just give that to the second best pitcher? At this rate, I don't get it.
Yeah, Grace, do you have anything burning for snubs?
I don't have a lot. I agree with many of the people on the list. I would say that Ian Happ for National League left field for Gold Glove doesn't really make a lot of sense. I watched a lot of games at Wrigley this year, and I thought nothing special was happening in left field. So I think that Alvarez would have been a better pick. I also think that, as you said with the Rockies, I don't really know what's happening there with Doyle. I think that Pete Crow Armstrong with the Cubs would have been a better pick there.
He had a great season.
Yeah, rookie season, he really showed out in center field, some amazing catches and just quality work every game. But other than that, I'm pretty on board with the rest of these picks.
Yeah, and we'll find out whenever the rest of the awards come out next week, because baseball takes forever. They drag it out. They make sure you wait for 5 months for who wins NL Rookie of the Year when that should be announced at the end of the year. I mean,
Yeah, the only sport.
we all know it's going to Paul Skeens. Like, you know what
I was gonna say, I'm looking
like
just announce it.
Like the Pirates get something this year, which is nice. They get an NL Rookie of the Year finalist.
Shout out to Yankees for winning so much.
Yeah.
Lewis Hill, Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of winning for them too with that award. But let's go into the college football playoff. We had a show earlier this week on Tuesday about the college football playoff. A lot of implications with that. The rankings came out on Tuesday. The playoff committee did snub a couple teams, but it wasn't really a snub whenever you watched the way Georgia played last week. They got absolutely steamrolled at Oxford, Mississippi against Ole Miss. So what are your guys' thoughts on this? Penn State ranked number 4 in the rankings. Is there anything that surprised you?
For me, how the heck is Georgia ranked number 12?
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense to me. I understand they're a 2-loss team, but look at their schedule. They played Clemson. They played Alabama. They played Texas. They played Ole Miss. They played Kentucky, who at home is a really good team, let's be honest, and they beat Ole Miss. So this team is so good. They could easily have 4 losses right now, and they've have gone 500 at that point in that daunting schedule. For me, I don't get how is Miami ranked over them? Miami is not a good team. They barely beat Virginia Tech. They should have lost that game, I'll be honest with you.
They should have lost to Cal too.
They should have lost to Cal, and they lost to Georgia Tech, who I just saw Notre Dame destroyed them a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I don't get these rankings, to be honest with you. Georgia should be in. Georgia should be in. It's not even a question for me. And then also, I'm sorry to say this, but how's Penn State number 4? We don't have a good quality win, and and it used to be Illinois, but now they're not ranked anymore. And then I'll be honest with you, Georgia plays Alabama. Georgia destroys us. I'm sorry to say it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're better teams over us, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I said that earlier. If the SEC comes to Beaver Stadium, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty. I think Penn State would want to play more of a Notre Dame or Miami-led team if they wanted to make the playoff and had a home playoff game. Personally, for me, they might win that game for Penn State. But looking at the rest of the picture, Texas and Penn State are something very interesting. I saw it on Twitter yesterday. Texas's strength of schedule is worse than Penn State by quite a bit. And that's something that I don't think a lot of people realize. The only team they played is Georgia, and they got steamrolled. So I think what it comes down to now is, voter bias. Texas is going to be above Penn State, I think, at the end, just because of voter bias. One, because they play in the SEC. So theoretically, it's better competition, which, to be honest, Penn State hasn't played a terrible schedule this year. They haven't played a bunch of completely scrubbed teams. Illinois is not a bad team. USC is bad, but they were good to start the year. Yeah. And then obviously the Ohio State game, which we lose every year. So, I mean, come on, that's going to be factored in. I factored that in before the year. I was like, all right, we're going to lose to Ohio State, no big deal. So I think if Penn State wins out, they should get a home playoff game, should be happy for all of us here. But, I mean, besides that, the SEC's loaded. They're going to have so many teams in. I think Georgia this week, though, has to win to get in the playoff. That's my opinion.
That's a must win.
That's a problem, though, because Georgia against Tennessee, they're 10-point favorites right now, according to Vegas, which is kind of strange. But the thing is, I think Nico, the quarterback for Tennessee, is out this week. So I can't pronounce his last name. So I'm not going to try. But I think it's going to be tough. Tennessee's defense and their running game better overall. But, I mean, we talked about it. I think the SEC bias is going to get a lot of teams in.
Yeah.
Honestly, sorry, girl.
You're okay. I was going to say the SEC bias with Ole Miss. I don't think Ole Miss should be ranked that high. Yeah. They took a big loss to Kentucky, which you did say they play better at home, but I still don't think that. I mean, losing to Kentucky is losing to Kentucky. And they lost to LSU, who is ranked, but they're not ranked in the scale of. They were ranked in the beginning of the season, and they just keep falling and falling. I just don't think Ole Miss should be above Georgia, even though they beat them. And I know the college football looks at that. I just think that they need to look at the scores and the strength of schedule. Yeah. I also think that Notre Dame, without that loss to Northern Illinois, would be in the top 5. I think they'd be above Penn State. Yeah. They're 8th right now because they're destroying every team they play. They destroyed Navy when they were ranked. And this week they have Army, who's ranked 16th. So if they can do the same thing to them, then I think that they should be up there in the top 5. And they should be a force in the playoffs. Yeah,
and I remember earlier when they were in Bowling Green, almost beat Penn State. That could have derailed our season. Yeah. So that happened a lot in week 2.
Or
whenever that happened. Game. So the USC game too could have derailed our season entirely. But yeah, like you were talking about with LSU. LSU just got steamrolled by Alabama. That's the thing. The SEC makes no sense. Any team can just beat anybody. Arkansas has beat a few good teams. They beat Tennessee. You saw South Carolina almost beat Alabama. I mean, you have no idea what's going to happen.
They always have to be in the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
Always
there's going to
has
be
to be
5
an
teams.
SEC
Yes,
team.
yes. There's going to be a lot of teams in the SEC this
For
year.
Ole Miss, like
God forbid.
I don't agree with you on the fact that they should not be ranked over Georgia. Like I'm looking at their schedule, like they barely lost to Kentucky, they barely lost to LSU, and they destroyed a good Georgia team, like a really good Georgia team. So, in my honest opinion, like just the one thing I'll say is I don't think Georgia should be ranked below Alabama. That's what I think. But
Yeah, I
Ole
agree
Miss,
with that.
but Ole Miss should definitely be ranked over Georgia.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I mean, the thing is, it's hard to tell because Alabama, they lose games they're not supposed to lose. That Vanderbilt loss through the whole season in a wrench for them. If they don't lose that game,
And
and,
they
if
almost
Ole
lost
Miss
to-
doesn't lose Kentucky, then they're in the top. Like we all knew Missouri fell out. They were frauds. You could tell. The 2 ranked
Yeah.
games they had, they were frauds. They were going to lose.
And they almost lost to, let's not forget, they almost lost to South Carolina and then Tennessee after that.
Exactly. Like, I mean, all these games are just kind of hearsay, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to go into this. There'll be another show next week too when people break it down a lot more. But let's go to our next topic. We have a board segment. We have MVPs across all sports. So this is any sport, whatever, like any of these awards, any of the MVP awards. The Hart Trophy for the NHL, the NFL MVP. You could pick any sport. You could pick golf too. I don't even know what they give out an MVP, but you can pick 2 locks, 2 guys that you know in your head, and you can make a case of why they're going to win the MVP in their sport. Fernando, you're up first. You have your 2 MVP picks.
All right. For my MVPs, I chose the NBA and college football. And I said for the NBA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think he's overdue for an MVP this year. I mean, he's been the best player for the Thunder for like the last 2 years. He's averaging right now 28 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. Last year, he was the third in MVP voting behind Luka and Jokic. And this year, I think the Thunder are going to be the best team in the Western Conference. And he will be the catalyst in leading that team. So for that reason, I do expect him to win the MVP at the end of the day for the NBA. And for college football, how can you not go with Travis Hunter? He's like the Shohei Ohtani of college football. He does everything on the field, cornerback and wide receiver. He leads the team in receptions, total yards, and he has 9 touchdowns for the team. Colorado is actually overachieving because of him. Let's be honest, we didn't have many expectations for them going into this year, and now they're on the verge of maybe possibly making the college football playoff. And the one game he was hurt against Kansas State, the offense looked lost, stagnant. So for that reason, I think at the end of the day, he will be the Heisman. And if he stays healthy, I'm calling it right now, Colorado's going to make the college football playoff.
Wow, that is a very hot take for the college football playoff. I think the way BYU's playing, I don't think they get in. However, I think
They're sneaking up.
they're sneaking up along the border. I think, I don't like Paul Feinbaum on ESPN that much, but what he said about Deion Sanders would be true if Indiana wasn't so good. That's the one thing. If Kurt Signetti and Indiana weren't as good as they are, he'd be the coach of the year, Deion Sanders.
It's just with BYU, like the thing is, they've gotten lucky to win games, just like
they have got lucky.
They got like against Utah, they got away with a holding call, and that they would have won that game. Utah would have won that game if it wasn't for that holding call. So
yeah,
I really think Colorado will win against BYU.
Yeah. All right, Bella, you're up with your MVPs.
Yes. All right, let's get down to business. So first, Jason Tatum. I haven't been focusing too much on basketball, but what I know, Jason Tatum has got to be an MVP. I know he's still young, but he's going to get so far. I know right now he's against Giannis right now, who is number 1 in points per average right now with a 33.0, I believe. And he's number 3 right now with a 30.2 points per average, which is pretty good. Like he's younger than Giannis. He's a kid. That's incredible on his level. I will say he was snubbed from the Olympic team. I thought he could have been a star at that. He's been bringing the Celtics so many championships at this point. Could he bring another one? We'll see. Cavaliers are undefeated right now. But I'm not a Celtics fan, but I like him. So over here, Igor Shesterkin. There's just so many things to say, but this is such a short show. But he is the best goalie in the league. Facts. That is literal facts. He's literally just... He's crazy. He has so many saves. He has 30 to 40 saves per game. I don't know who else can really do that. Name me as of right now. Not back then. We're not going to look back then. But he is number 3 in best goalies in history. He is number 1 in the goalie right now. And yeah, he's just very amazing. I hope he signs on with the Rangers again because I think the fans are going to turn their heads if he leaves the Rangers, and the Rangers are probably going to be screwed.
As a Penguins fan, he better not win MVP. But like at the same time, the last goalie to win MVP was Carey Price, so it's tough. It's really tough. But I mean, if you can imagine it, I think it can happen. So I mean, honestly, the NHL is crazy. So
He's just amazing.
Can I just say, I do not agree with you on the fact that Jason Statham should have not been snubbed from the Olympic game.
He's good.
He's not that good, in my honest opinion. I'm going to say this: the Celtics' run to the championship last year was Mickey Mouse. I'll be honest with you.
All right, here's the thing about Mickey Mouse with me. I don't think anything's Mickey Mouse because the competition you face is what you face. You know what I mean? Like, whoever's in the playoffs is just who you face. You don't control who you face. Like, the Western Conference is stronger one year, the East is stronger the other year. I mean, if Joel Embiid's healthy, they're a stronger team. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how it works. So I think that is sort of how I feel about the whole Mickey Mouse thing. Because, like, during COVID, that word was thrown around all the time. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know. All right, Grace, you're up with your MVP picks.
Okay, I'm excited. Let's see. Okay. So did I make obvious picks? Yes, but that's okay. So first we have Dylan Gabriel for Oregon. I know you were arguing Travis Hunter, but I really think Gabriel's got it this year. After transferring from Wisconsin, he's giving the Ducks the perfect season. He's gone 22 touchdowns in 10 games. He does have 5 interceptions, but, you can't win them all. And then last game against Maryland, he went 23 for 24 and set the college football record for 180 career touchdowns. So he's just on the field. He's running that team. He's leading them, number 1 in the nation. And then for my other pick for the NFL, I went with Lamar Jackson. He is up in every poll right now because his season is going amazingly. He's made so many MVP bids, but this year just looks different than the rest. He's second in passing, number 1 in QB rushing, like usual. And that has led the Baltimore offense to be number 1 in passing. And he is leading them away with that two-way offense, rushing and passing. And it makes them such a weapon against the teams they play. The defense never knows what he's going to do. And he just keeps shining in every game. So I think these are both clear MVPs.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I can't really disagree with you. I'm going to say another name for NFL MVP that, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm just literally saying this for Brennan, who's sitting back there. I'm just saying it for you as a Buffalo fan, but I'll talk about that. But those are good picks. All right, I'll go to my picks now. A couple players that I think people are not really relying on too much, and people that they don't realize how good these players are. First of all, Nathan McKinnon is a disgusting player on the ice. He is absolutely insane. He has 33 points through 17 games. That is almost 2 points per game in the NHL. That is insane. He has 26 assists, which leads the NHL by far. I think it's like 5 or 6 assists more than the next closest player. So he's insane this year. No one's touching him this year, in my opinion. I think last year he should have won MVP. He didn't. I think if Austin Matthews didn't go on his insane goal streak, he would have won it. But I think this year he's got it in the bag. And I think the Avalanche are a dangerous team because that top line is dangerous. And then obviously I had to give love to Brennan, who's sitting in the studio back there. Listen, I think Josh Allen is one of the more underrated players in the league. I think personally he should have won MVP last year over Lamar Jackson because Lamar's numbers are better this year than they were last year, which is something that I don't think people realize, which is something that they might hold Lamar against in a way because of voter fatigue. That might be something that they hold against. They've done it in years past. So I think Josh Allen is going to win it. But the reason I say that is mainly because I think overall on the Ravens, when you think about most valuable player on that team, I think a lot of people would say that Derrick Henry is the most valuable player on that team. I'm not saying Lamar Jackson isn't the most valuable player on that team. I think he might be. I think he's one of the best players in the league. But in my opinion, I think Derrick Henry is a better overall player and has helped the team more this season than Lamar Jackson has. So with that in mind, Josh Allen runs like a wild horse out there from Wyoming, which is where he's from. And I just think it's something that a lot of people don't really take into account is his legs. He's very good running the football. He doesn't use the tush push like the Eagles do. I'm sorry, I had to bring it up. He does not use the tush push. So I think that's going to be key for the rest of the season. Yeah, I think if Josh Allen and the Bills have the best record in the NFL too, that helps. So
Josh Allen's a really good pick.
I love Josh Allen.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. When they got rid of Stephon Diggs, I really had questions about how this guy was going to look, and he's looked very, very impressive. And
Mhm.
he technically doesn't have a de facto number one wide receiver, and he's still
Yeah.
getting it done with his legs, playmaking, whatever it has to be.
Yeah.
So like, I think this is a really sneaky MVP
Yeah.
pick.
And for the noise upstairs, for those of you that might hear it on air, it is someone maybe moving a chair. That's probably what it is. But there's noise. I don't know what it is. I've been hearing it the whole time too. So let's go to the next segment, which I suggested. I thought it was pretty good. Blind ranks sporting venues. So this just, I guess, stadiums from like any sport, I assume. I'm just assuming. So we'll just go 1 through 5 down the list, what we think. Madison Square Garden. Oh, okay. So I know you have bias. Listen, I would say 3 too, only because I get the whole
Greatest arena.
I put
in the
it
world.
2.
No.
I think it can be beat.
No.
I
This is
think
where all this stuff happens.
I'm
it
trying to
is,
think
but
about it,
I think
like-
it can be beat.
It can
By
be beat.
who?
It can be beat by
Watch you
quite
guys
a
be
few
wrong.
arenas. I mean, I
No.
feel like there's a better arena
Yeah,
or
like-
stadium on this list.
I always have this.
We'll see.
I always have this.
I think it's so
I always
far
have
to
this
this list.
presumption
I'll-
of.
Let's say
over.
2 just to be fair.
I always have
2,
this
yeah.
assumption of the last picks are the best ones. So
Yeah.
I'm wanting to see what the last ones are.
Let's go with 2, but if we're wrong, we'll just blame them.
If
Is
it's
that
something
fair?
from
Yeah.
California,
Yeah, that's
whatever.
fair. That's
but
fair enough.
MSG's my number
We'll go to
one.
2. We'll go to the
Okay.
next one.
Yeah.
We're historical.
Okay. See, I'm
Okay.
biased, but
No.
the thing
Number
is,
5.
this
No,
is
that's
not.
fine.
Absolutely.
That's
not
fine.
like, all right, see, let
Stay.
me make my case for 4. Okay, like listen, it's
Just
not a great
leave it.
arena. It's a dump whenever I go there most of the time. So
The
not a lot of
smell
people
is
go there
so
anymore.
bad.
Yeah, it smells pretty bad.
Does it actually?
depends.
Yeah.
Well, it smells bad. It depends on where you are. Like if you're on like the ice level, it probably smells worse. If you're up top where I sit, it's not that bad. But I mean, look at this environment. I mean, none
That's
of you.
not-
I've been to some of these games. Like it's got to go 4. I don't like the Penguins right now. They suck. But if you put this at 5, I feel like there's a stadium like FedEx Field that's waiting for us.
I don't think FedEx Field's waiting.
FedEx Field is by
wrong.
far the worst.
That's what I mean. Like, all right,
So
I've been
4?
there.
we could do 4.
I say
4?
5. I mean,
5
I mean,
or 4?
I mean,
I'd
like,
go 5.
All right, listen, I'll go 5. I'll
Okay,
say
let's say
5, just
5.
because
Fine.
it's not the best stadium in
we
Pittsburgh
have
by
5
far.
and
It's
2
not
on
very
Yeah.
good.
I absolutely agree.
All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, see,
Oh.
see.
It's a dome.
I mean,
This is. I was gonna say something about this too. This might be the worst
4.
stadium ever
4.
created.
4.
That's
Yeah, but
definitely
oh
4.
my god, like
Yeah,
if you
the dome.
let's say
It's
you
a
hit a fly
dome.
ball and it
I don't like the
hits,
dome.
like the top of the ceiling. That is
No
just
one
awful.
wants a dome.
That's what I mean. Like it
It
should
should have been 5.
It should have been 5.
I mean, this.
But Penguins can
this-
stay at 5.
Also, this like this structure is kind of weird. Like you're in Florida. Why the heck do you need a state like a roof?
Yeah. Well,
It's
what's funny is
funny.
the roof
Yeah.
is off now because of the hurricane.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like that's
Well,
something
it's
that
actually
also
destroyed, like,
yeah, like
the
the whole
field.
like they're moving to the Yankees like
Springfield.
Are they
for
actually?
spring
some time.
training field like full
Wow.
time.
Yeah.
Those of you that don't know, that's where they're moving. So
Forgot about that.
yeah, so that's this stadium sucks. There's no one there. They only fill the lower bill.
I
half
remember.
The time.
So
I remember for a
Yeah,
playoff
that's
game like
4.
2 years ago, they didn't even fill up the stadium, which was
Yeah.
kind of bizarre.
All right,
I
let's go to
remember
the
the
next
one
one.
Rays versus Yankees game. It was weird.
Next one.
All right,
I'm
next
afraid
one.
that we're going to get Beaver Stadium.
Okay,
Oh.
this feels like a solid.
Okay,
3.
my
Number
bias
2.
says 3.
Well, we already picked 2,
Oh.
so it'd have to go 3 or 1.
3.
We have 3 or 1. I'd say it goes 3.
3.
It can't go 1
It can't
because.
go 1.
But like the
I don't
problem
really know
is,
anything
well, we
special.
should get a
I
good
have-
stadium at 1.
I have a feeling it's going to be a bad one.
Well,
It's big.
we'll put this at 3. Lambeau's good. It's a good environment.
It's a historical venue as well.
I'm
Just
scared
like
of what's
MSG, it's
next.
historical. Let's
Yeah.
You
go
guys are
at
gonna make
3.
a mistake.
Yeah, all right, let's go to 1.
I hope
This
it's
is our number 1.
Oh, okay.
You see,
I-
that's what number 2. What
See,
the
this should
heck?
not have been number 1.
I told you. I
is
told
be
you.
biased.
I
This
was
would be
wrong.
biased.
I
This
told
would be
you
biased
all.
if we choose it as number
If it was
one.
Beaver, would have been number
If
1.
it was
yeah, that's
Pagula,
true.
I would have been number 1. If it's Rick Hall, it would have been. Oh,
Unless it's
What?
only Beaver. I'm sorry.
Only
listen,
Beaver.
Okay, like
Rangers.
Beaver's good, but like, and this is not that good. Like in my opinion, like the BJC is like not.
What have you
Yeah.
guys done?
It's not like that. It's just like
Should've been
if
like
you go in
4.
there, it's like PPG paint.
That could be 2.
And it's similar
It's
to
never
MSG.
filled as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like not that great. All right, we did all right. We did all right.
Yeah.
We messed up Tropicana Field, I guess mainly.
We
but
messed up
could've-
MSG and
I think
Beaver.
that
Wow,
would've
Chris
been
Jordan.
better.
that
Yeah.
was bad.
I mean, we'll see. All right, let's go to our next segment. We have the Hot Take Central. So we got some hot takes that I'm sure some of you have. I'll just think about it on the fly. I'm trying to like figure out what I'm going to say because I have a lot of stuff I could say.
Yeah.
So it's a frenzy show. So we have a bunch of sports to talk about. So who wants to go first with their hot take?
Me.
All right, you can go
Okay.
first. We'll just talk about it.
Okay, so I was choosing between Juan Soto, who he's going to pick next, or if he's going to stay, or if the Chiefs are going to go to a 17-0 season, even though they're not playing good right now. Anyways, for the New Yorkers, I'm gonna go with the Juan Soto one, but I think the Yankees are gonna spend every single dime on Juan Soto. After the season the Yankees had, they got to the World Series for the first time in what?
2009.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been in-
however
yeah,
many
yeah.
years, over a decade.
When they beat the Phillies, sadly.
He just came to the Yankees on fire. He got a silver slugging. He's great in the outfield. He's very good hitter. I love him. I will not want to see him go. I'll be very sad. And yeah, I think every Yankees fan say the same thing. If he goes, I don't know if I could say they're screwed. They still have Aaron Judge, but postseason Aaron Judge, not really.
that was bad.
Listen, the
Juan
17 and 0
Soto,
one was pretty good. That's
Yeah.
that's a hot take. That might be the
If they
Someone
beat-
do it.
take.
If they
You
beat,
do it
if
if
they
you-
beat the Bills, I think
Hey.
they could do it. But
I want the Bills to beat them.
I'm gonna go with college football and say I'm gonna say that Notre Dame will not make the college football playoff.
No.
What?
Yes.
Listen, I don't mind that.
They're good.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you
No,
what.
they're
This-
so good.
They're
As a
good.
Cowboys fan, this team reminds me of
They're
them.
Cowboys.
Yeah, they
That
just
says a
find
lot.
ways to choke when the expectations are on them. They
You mean
always,
like Penn State, right? Penn State football. They choke
but,
This
but
is
Notre
a
Dame is a good.
school.
But Notre Dame's also a good. Notre
listen,
Dame's another good.
you gotta know where you are.
Also,
I mean, it's the same sort of
they
school.
have two tough games coming up against Army and USC. They lost to a poor Northern Illinois team in week 2 at home, and like I said, don't be shocked if they lose to an Army or USC team.
I wouldn't.
I think they're gonna.
Army's
I think
good.
they're gonna lose
No.
to Army at the least.
Maybe
I would
USC.
agree that when the
Army
spotlight is on them,
Army
they're
is
not
sneaky.
good.
Like I think they're a really good team. I don't think the committee is taking a lot of credit for them. So if Army beats Notre Dame, their season's over.
Yeah.
Army's the new champions.
I would agree with that. My hot take is more lukewarm, but I would say that Indiana is severely overranked. I don't think they should be in 5th. I don't think they've played
They're
anyone.
undefeated.
Yeah.
But,
So are a
It's-
lot
it's
of
strength
little
schedule.
teams.
I agree with
They
Yeah.
play nobody. Their best team was Michigan, who's
Yeah.
5-5, and we've seen
They're
them
not even in the
get
top 25.
destroyed by a bunch of people. They're not even in the top 25.
Nope.
So this week against Ohio State, that's their big game. That's the way they can prove themselves.
Mhm.
But otherwise, I think that if they lose to Ohio State, even by a
Mhm.
little bit, they should drop way down.
They might get blown out.
No,
too.
they might get blown out.
Yeah,
especially-
it'll be interesting to see that one. But I'll go with what you said about the Chiefs. I mean, they have voodoo magic. You know what I mean? Like something about that
There's
team
something
is
going
voodoo
on.
magic.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, voodoo magic, or Andy
Taylor
Reid,
Swift has
voodoo
like a
magic.
spell on the
There's a
NFL.
spell. There's definitely a spell, and it's something that has kind of coated the rest of the NFL, which is also resulting in a lot of penalties against other teams.
I don't
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
I don't like
I
how
don't
it's
either.
it's not
Well,
her fault. It's the NFL's.
yeah,
Why
it's a
are
lot
you
of-
going by her?
The refs,
Yeah.
The
like to
refs
give them
win.
calls.
Like
Yeah, the refs like to win games. Let's go to the next segment here. It's the final one of the day. We got the Thursday night football preview. It's a good one once again. Last week we had Ravens Bengals, which lived up to the billing. Great game.
That was
Fantasy wise was incredible for Jamar Chase and others. And now we have a showdown in the NFC East. 2 of the best teams: 7-win Commanders, 7-3, and 7-2 Eagles. I know you're an Eagles fan. What do you got for tonight?
You said I'm a Cowboys fan.
Oh wait, yeah, you're a Cowboys fan. That's right. I forgot.
crazy.
I
Why
forgot.
the
Yeah.
heck would I be
Yeah.
the Eagles
you just
fan?
insulted.
But
Well, you hate the Eagles.
But
right?
this
Yeah.
is not me being
Agreed.
a Eagles hater, but I really do think the Commanders will win today. This team, I understand the Eagles have the home field advantage, but this Commanders team has proven to me that they're for real. They have beaten good teams. They almost beat the Steelers despite Jalen Daniels having like an average game, and they're playing better. The defense is playing better than the Eagles. For the Eagles, I understand the record is good, but this team is so one-dimensional. They depend so much on Saquon. Like there's been like you can see in games that like Saquon has been the one has bailed them out in wins. And I think like you shut down the formula is easy. You shut down Saquon, you have a good chance of winning that game. So if the Commanders do that, they're gonna win this game.
I mean, they shut down Saquon and the Giants, so
It's the Giants.
That kind of
Yeah.
happens all the time. I mean, this game, honestly, when you look at this matchup, honestly, the Eagles are coming in with the high. I hate Nick Sirianni. I think he's an overrated coach. I don't think he's doing everything to get fired, but he's not because the team's winning because Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley are carrying the Eagles. And then the Commanders, Jaden Daniels has been an incredible story this season. Dan Quinn's a coach no one thought would be that great right away. And I mean, he's coached really well. I mean, he's coached really well. Cliff Kingsbury is, I think, the key with them, though, because I think their offense was unlocked.
I'm going to pick the Eagles because I think that Daniels, as great as he is, their defense is just not good. They cannot stop the run, and that's what the Eagles can do. And they just lost Jonathan Allen, so even weaker now. I believe that the Eagles, with their run, with Jalen Hurts, who knows what he's doing, at home, can go up against the rookie. I just think that they have better odds here.
I hope it's a high-scoring game.
Yeah.
I think the Commanders win
I
only because it's
I don't have
high-scoring.
it
I
as a
said
high-scoring
something
game.
like that.
Yeah.
I mean, this game determines if who's going to take first in the NFC East, either the Eagles or the Commanders. Right now, I mean, I don't know if they're really tied, but technically the Eagles, because of the less losses, tight. I think it's gonna be a tight game overall. But like everyone's saying, the rookie QB Jaden Daniels is absolutely incredible. I think the Commanders have grown so much as a team over time. They went from being not as good to being pretty relevant, darn good, honestly. But I can't choose, to be honest. This is a tough game for me. This is the one game I can't choose is going to win. It's a 50-50. But
it's gonna be a hard game to predict.
I'll stick with the score 30-27 though.
That's
for either team.
I feel like both teams scored 25, 24 plus.
Yeah, I can see this being a high score.
I've been looking at the stats. I'm like, it's probably average.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the end of our show today for the Frenzy Show. For Fernando, Bella, Grace, I'm Justino. Thank you guys for tuning in, and make sure to tune in next week for some more NFL, college football. We got a lot of stuff to talk about next week, so make sure to tune in.